On behalf of the Camogie Association, I'm delighted that so many of you have a need for speed on a Saturday morning. I suppose when the Camogie development team sat down and were given the opportunity to present at this year's conference, we decided that, the need for speed, we speak about the game of Camogie and hurling as being the fastest field game in the world for both men and women. So once we came up with that concept, we identified the different types of speed, of which there are 6, and Peter will go into them in more detail shortly. You add on then the need for the speed of team play, and you've got a lot going on there as a coach, because as a coach, it's up to you to be able to, I suppose, be aware of those speeds and a responsibility to try and develop those speeds, especially at the critical age for teenagers. After we decided on the concept for the need for speed, we decided we needed to get a presenter. We needed to get a presenter who had huge knowledge of the game, a real a love for the game of hurling and camogie, somebody who could communicate and somebody who could engage with an audience. So we couldn't afford Paddy Butler, so we got Peter. No, it is in jest. I think anybody who knows Peter knows he has a fantastic knowledge of the game. He has a love of the game. And I think anybody who has a conversation with Peter about hurling or camogie cannot come away from that conversation feeling even more invigorated and more enthusiastic about our great game. He works as a GDA for Clare, and I think they're very lucky to have him. But he's also been hugely instrumental in the work he's done with Clare senior camogie team over the last couple of seasons. He was instrumental in getting them to their first ever senior National League final in 2014, and responsible for their impressive performance in the 2014 championship. So without further ado, give a warm welcome to Peter Casey.
Thanks very much. It's a real privilege to be here, and it's a lovely title, The Need for Speed, and we get straight into it. Hurling and camogie are games of attack and defence, like the world of nature. The predator and the prey, the hunted, and the hunter and the hunted. And the great predators of hurling, DJ Carey and Eddie Brennan, the great goal scorers, Nicky English and Pat Fox, Katrina Parrock, Katrina Mackey, Niamh Kilkenny, all these great goal scorers and great poachers who put the fear of God into defences. And what have they got? And like the shark, the fastest sharks catch the most amount of fish. The slowest, weakest sharks die off. And the fastest sharks survive, and they procreate with other fast sharks. So evolution is making sharks faster. What we've got to ask is, how come, if sharks are getting faster, that they don't clean up the sea and eat up all the fish? The reason is because fish have had to evolve as well and get faster to avoid being killed by sharks. So fish are getting faster and sharks are getting faster, and evolution has taken care of it, but no species is getting any great advantage on the other. And a few years ago it was felt that Kilkenny were unbeatable and were unstoppable, and that no team would ever be able to beat Kilkenny again, and they'd win the next 10 in a row. But what Kilkenny have done is they have forced the other counties to get faster. And now we're back to a situation like we were in 20 years ago, where 6 or 7 or 8 teams have realistic chances of winning an All-Ireland again, all thanks to Kilkenny. And Wexford camogie team the same way. A few years ago, Wexford were unbeatable. And now, Cork won their All-Ireland last year, Galway won the year before, and there were 4 or 5 teams in the country with realistic chances of winning the All-Ireland. So hurling is evolving and camogie are evolving the same as nature. €50 for the spot the ball. The penalty evolved. Anthony Nash discovered a new technique, carried the ball a bit further, and put the fear of God into all us Clare supporters here in Croke Park 2 years ago anyway. And then Stephen O'Keefe found a way to negate Anthony Nash's big advantage. I'll close him down, I'll take him on. And then in the end, as the penalty evolved, Anthony Nash had no longer that big advantage. So forwards and defenders are always trying to outwit each other. And now the GAA have changed the rule. We're really excited about the new rule and how the penalty is going to evolve in the excitement again, 1v1. Here's a lovely graph I found on point scoring and goal scoring in hurling over the last 100 years. So 100 years ago, lots of games were 5 goals to 4 goals and a point, or 3 goals and 2 points to 2 goals and 3 points. More goals than points. But in the last 50 years, point scoring in hurling has doubled. And that was done up to 2010. Last year, 128 wasn't enough to win the All-Ireland. So goal scoring has decreased and point scoring has increased. Why is that? Well, the sitter has got faster. Hurleys have got their better quality. Striking is superior. Decision making is much quicker. And team play is more cohesive. So hurling has evolved and people are now scoring from inside their own half. And in Camogie has evolved. It wasn't too long ago when Camogie was played into the small goals under 21. And now players are scoring from halfway. Brilliant strikers of the ball. So, and it keeps evolving. So our model, any of you who were here last night would have seen Pat Daly present this model. Around for a long time, but used by us coaches as the what to do, the 3 T's and the 3 P's. But we don't see speed here. So where does speed come into it? If we delve a bit further, technical proficiency. The ability to perform the underlying techniques accurately, consistently, and at match tempo. Now I find in my coaching that I'm hurling better than ever before. I'm so consistent in my swing. I'm so accurate in my swing. I'm so brilliant in my catching. Better than ever before in my life. But I can't play at a match tempo, so I can't be considered technically proficient. And there are different tempos. Munster College is D, Leinster College is C, Connacht College is B, Ulster College is A, all played at different tempos. And the big challenge for coaches is in the time when technique is really good. The technique, our players' techniques are better than ever before. The big challenge is how can we expose our players to the match tempo that they need to be able to get to the highest level. So some clubs continually play at lower grades. And their players never get the opportunity to get to the higher grades. Now if we look at Brian Ryan and Micheál Quirke's model, where every club gets to send in their under-14s, that's one way of getting our club players up to a higher tempo. Tactical prowess relates to decision making. So Johnny Sexton says in the ad, I have loads of match-changing decisions to make in milliseconds. That's the time that the top players have, milliseconds. So that relates to speed. Can I make that decision when it's on? And live with the consequences of the decision. Team play. In Clare we're so lucky now. Tony Kelly and Colm Galvin playing under 21 last year was such a joy. How they'd put a pass in just at that right time. Just stick it in front of him and the ball is over the bar. The 2 players on the same wavelength. Team play, so comfortable playing at that tempo. So again, a big challenge for the coach. Physical fitness from our Award 1 and Award 2 courses. We know physical fitness by the 5 S's. Speed, strength, suppleness, stamina, and sleep. The 5 S's of physical fitness. And this time of year, coaches all around the country with their managers are sitting down to periodise their year. And they will prioritise a different S or a few different S's at different times. So at the moment now, stamina would be big, suppleness would be big to be able to prepare to be able to stay injury-free during the year, and strength would be a big priority. Strength in the overall context of speed development later in the year. Speed at the moment wouldn't be a high priority. Speed is coming into big games, into championship games. As speed training is done, it's a total different form of training than stamina training. Shorter sessions, done earlier in the session, when players are rested, and recovery and rest is paramount. Psychological focus. I'm not sure psychological focus is a speed. I think the fastest players have slow minds, like the Formula 1 drivers. They're driving cars at 750 with brake horsepower, going at enormous speeds, and they have a slow mind. And the jockeys have slow minds in the Grand National and the Epsom Derby. And the great hurlers in the field look like they have loads of time. Their minds are slow and calm. A frantic mind is not a fast hurler. The fast body and the slow mind, I think, is what we're looking for. Participant feedback, a two-way communication process between the coach and the player. So during the session or during the match, the coach is getting all this feedback from players. He's hearing what they're saying or he's seeing what they're saying, and he has to process or she has to process what they're saying to him really quickly. And to be able to make a decision and make adjustments to the training session or adjustments to the match based on the feedback that the coach is getting. And give information back to the player. And the player also needs to be able to process that information. So a player who can't take information, who can't follow instructions, is not of much use to a team. So that's another speed of hurling that's needed. Mary says hurling is the fastest field sport in the world. We won't argue with Mary. It's widely known as the fastest field sport in the world. It's such an honour to coach the game that's the fastest game in the world. A small country like Ireland, we've got the fastest game in the world. I think we should say it every day when we're training children and training youth. We're playing the fastest game in the world. How exciting is that? Now, how much of a challenge is it for our players to play at the highest level in the fastest game in the world? And camogie is the fastest field sport in the world. So the lads have the special Ks and we have the special Cs. And the Clare people have the ball. It's great. So the big challenge is how are we going to develop the 6 speeds? What are the 6 speeds? I think that this is the most iconic photograph that I've seen in hurling. Tommy Walsh, under enormous pressure, in an All-Ireland final, reaches into the sky. His man is jumping off the ground and Tommy's left knee is nearly at shoulder height. How high has Tommy reached into the sky? So many players will wait back and take the ball there, and you wouldn't blame them. They'll take it here. Tommy wants to take it as early as possible at the highest possible point. So what speeds did Tommy require to get that ball at that height under those pressures? To protect himself fully from any hit that's going to come in. Use his hurling, use his knee. Get the ball with full extension. The 6 speeds of hurling. Speed of foot, speed of hand, speed of eye, speed of mind, speed of stroke, and speed of reaction. I first saw this when Paddy Butler brought out his book on the O2 model a number of years ago. And we've been using it since a lot with our own development squads. And it's a lovely model because every player has some speed. Every player is good at some of those. And the guy with the fast feet, he might have slow hands. And the guy with the slow feet will have fast hands. And they'll practice the things that they're good at. The guy with the slow feet, he'd be brilliant on the wall. He'd strike and he'd catch and he'd strike and he'd catch. And the great coach is able to identify and help the player to identify the things that he's good at. And the great coach is also able to help the player identify the things that he's not good at and help him develop those things. So every person has different speeds. Now the big challenge is we've posed the problem now. How do we develop each of these speeds? So we take one at a time. The North Star guides us. This 6 speeds is an aspiration in a way. I don't know if there are many hurlers who ever had the full 6 speeds. I'd say DJ had. I was watching videos of DJ the other day. And you just have to say he was just magic, the goals that he scored. He broke hearts. He broke Clare hearts. He broke Wexford hearts and Offaly hearts several times. But some players did not have the 6 speeds. And this is not something to beat up our teenagers with. This is not something to say you haven't got this and you haven't got that and you haven't got the other. This is you have this and you have that and we're going to help you. You have great hand speed and you have great eye speed and you have great mind speed. But we're going to help you now with your foot speed and your stroke speed. So what's foot speed? Here's Alan Cadigan. We had to get a photograph of a Cork player with a ball. So, foot speed in hurling may not be running in a straight line. Alan Cadigan now is stepping off his right foot to try and lose the defender so he can get the score. Running technique is really important and the development of agility is so important. Paddy said here last year when he spoke about the child, the development of agility and the development of running in children is vital. And as our youths and our teenagers are going through their teenage years and they're developing and their bodies are changing, we need to look after running technique and we need to look after agility. The ability to go forwards and backwards and laterally and diagonally with ease and confidence. Stride length and stride frequency are two big components of running speed. So if a player was to increase either of those, stride length or stride frequency, they should get faster. But one of the big things I've learned recently is that the force that the player exerts when their foot hits the ground, the force that they exert, that really determines the speed that they make. So there's loads of information out there on running speed. I think really what separates the player, the fastest player, or the person with the good feet from the person without the good feet is their ability to accelerate, to decelerate, and to recelerate. To speed up and to slow down and to go again and to lose the defender and then to be able to get the score. I got a great image here from Damien Young. Damien did super research based on the All-Ireland final from a number of years ago. And I just took one of his slides of a forward in the first half of a match. And this tracks the movement of the player during the match. If we look at the bottom here, player was stationary 12.1% of the time, walked 45% of the time, jogged 30% of the time. That's about 87%. And strided 9% of it. So 96% of the time, the player wasn't sprinting. They sprinted 1.8% of the time, and a max sprint of 1.1%. So the player rarely gets into full speed. Damien says that the average sprint was 7 meters, but there was no pattern to it. You couldn't say, we're going to recreate that. You couldn't do that. Maybe only by playing a game. Games-based coaching will prepare the player for the movement patterns in the game. And the different colours show the different speeds. So the player is always asked to change direction, to change speeds, to go from striding to sprinting, to striding, to jogging, to walking, depending on the demand of the game at that period of time. Hand speed. So dexterity is really important for hand speed. Dexterity is being able to make different shapes of my hand, depending on the skill that's required. To catch the ball there, or to catch the ball there, or to catch the ball there, or to hand pass the ball there, or like DJ to be able to hand pass with both hands, or Richie Hogan to be able to hand pass with both hands. Dexterity. Rotation. If I can't lift my arm, extend my arm behind my ear, I'm going to miss out on a lot of balls in my life. I won't be able to catch them. So the rotation is important. And reach. Being able to reach out here, being able to reach up here, being able to reach out there, being able to reach down to get that ball into the hand. Fluidity. I think one of the biggest things that we could teach our children is that catching mechanism. Be able to take the ball there and bring it into safety again. To grab the ball and bring it in. That catching mechanism, that fluidity. To be able to turn the hand from here to around to get the strike in. Accuracy. So many players nearly get the ball, they don't quite get the hand to the ball. So accuracy of the hand, if your player is nearly getting the ball, why is that happening? It may be eye speed or it may be hand speed. And timing. Tommy Walsh's timing was so good. The timing of the run and the timing of the jump and the full extension of the hand. Again, players need that to be considered as having hand speed. Here's Richie Hogan getting the ball and his eye is up to make the pass. So eye speed. Some players, I'd say all players, close their eyes or blink on certain occasions. In a block or in a catch or in a tackle. Or players with greater confidence will keep their eyes open more. So keeping the eyes open is linked to confidence. And the greatest players keep their eyes open most of all. Eye acuity, 20/20 vision, is considered really good human vision. The hawk has acuity of about 24, far superior to 20/20, 24 vision. Some of the baseball batters, they say, have 20/10. Okay? But if some of our players don't have 20/20 vision and they don't have the correct contact lenses, they won't see the ball early enough. We won't see Anthony Nash's penalty if my goalie has 20/30 vision. Peripheral vision. Being able to see wide, being able to see all the players within my line. Last year there was research done here at on the Friday night. It was presented on players with right eye dominance or left eye dominance. We're all dominant in one eye. So players, if they were aware that they have dominance on one side, may see more on that side than they see on the other side. The ability to focus on the ball. I see 100 things coming at me. Players, everything is coming at me. But can I focus on the ball and grab that ball? How do we set up for that? Small-sided games, played in a confined space, players on the hurling ball, where it's a mishmash and where things could go a bit wrong. Where the player is forced to be able to catch the ball under pressure. Head movement, being able to play with my head up, being able to turn my head right and being able to turn my head left. And eye movement, being able to move the eye in the socket. They're all components of eye speed. I got this from Ray Boyne. Richie Hogan's passing average during the season, 91%. Iniesta also had 91% for Barcelona. I was just saying to Mary, Iniesta's week's wages would keep the Clare Camogie team going for 5 years. So if anyone knows him, just say 1 week's wages will do it, okay? But it's phenomenal. Richie has a hurley, an extension of his body, and is able to get a pass completion rate of 91%. What eye speed would you need? What mind speed would you need? What stroke speed would you need to be able to get that? And I think this is the greatest of Kilkenny, their ability to play for each other. And likewise Barcelona. Mind speed. So here's Shane O'Donnell. He'd already scored a goal off his right and a goal off his left. And he's playing here in the All-Ireland final. Another chance arrives to him in the first half. And you'd have to say that the two defenders aren't doing a whole lot wrong. They have him covered on the right. He can't strike on the right. He can't strike on the left. The block is going to come in. Shane has that millisecond to make up his mind. I'm going to go for the back goal. Why did that happen? His coaches say it didn't happen by accident. He was encouraged to be creative. In training, they were encouraged to be creative, to try the fancy thing, to try the thing that may go wrong. Reverse hand passes. And all those skills that some coaches may consider as being too fancy or being redundant. Were not redundant because they're the only option at the time. Resilience. Mary spoke about Eamon Ryan, her great coach in Cork, the Cork Ladies football team, that he said, I want you to put away the mistake. If you make a mistake, you have 2 seconds to get rid of it. You don't beat yourself up. I don't want you to beat yourself up. There's professional soccer players in England on 150,000 a week, and they're kicking penalties wide. And they still get 150,000 the following week. There's nobody not paying them because of it. So you're not entitled to beat yourself up. So how many times would Shane have tried that skill as a young person, and it wouldn't have worked out? The goalie would have saved it, or he'd have missed the ball. So to have that resilience and the coaches to encourage that creativity. Self-awareness is the opposite to self-consciousness. Self-conscious is, I hope I don't make a mistake. I hope I don't look stupid. I hope this doesn't go wrong for me. I hope the coach doesn't give out to me if I do this wrong. That's self-consciousness. Self-awareness is, I'm aware of my surroundings. This is the choice I have. I'm able for this. That's self-awareness. Coaches have a big job to build self-awareness in their players. Flow. Getting into a state of flow. Okay? When the challenge matches the skill. Mary spoke the other day when we were going through this about how she loved getting into flow on the big days. Oh, I love that, she said. I love that word. I love flow. Now, the ladies' GPA came out with a survey last week to say that 80% of the girls in the country play overwhelmed, or feel overwhelmed when they play. And 60% of players feel stressed when they play. Now, they're negative emotions. Players will not be in flow if they're stressed or overwhelmed. And I was just looking at myself and saying, my own coaching behaviours, what did I do? What would I have done to cause players to be stressed? The idea of perfection, the idea that we have to win, the idea that, you know, we can't make mistakes. Communicating that to players is not good. If it causes stress, we just have to get rid of that behaviour. The calm emotion. You have to put the wide out. You have to put the refereeing decision away. We have to play the game to really be able to enjoy the game. I'm here to enjoy this, a game I love playing. This is the opposite to stress. This is the opposite to being overwhelmed. Environmental awareness, being aware of my surroundings. I'm playing with the wind, yeah, I'll be able to get that score. I'm playing against the wind, no, a bit far out. The grass is long or the grass is short, or I'm playing an AstroTurf, or I can't hear my coach. So, TJ, in the All-Ireland final, started the second half. I was in line with that. I said, there's nothing on here, he'll get a point, or he'll pass the ball out here to Walter Walsh. Walter's the hands up. He thinks the pass is on. It's going to be a handy point for Walter. Brendan Maher said, I'll block the ball going over the bar. And TJ drops the ball down below his knee and rifles the ball to the back of the net. Why? Because he had stroke speed. Zoe and Orla, will you come up here? Paddy, would you come up as well, please? Thanks. Paddy, you might grab that pole there. We're just going to use the two girls here. Because stroke speed is okay if we have technique. But if we don't have technique, there's no point talking about stroke speed. So Orla is going to, I'll go down here in front of you and I'll see. Zoe's going to go first. And she's going to strike off her right. We're just going to keep it nice and simple. You go for maybe 5 strikes there. Zoe, if that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we love the way her grip is short, encouraging players to hold the hurley short. Some players think that because the hurley ends here, I have to have my hand here all the time in a fixed position. The great hurlers are able to bring their hand back down along the hurley. And they arc inside the body as opposed to outside. Outside the body is, inside the body is here. Okay. And the round swing. Have another go there, Zoe, please. As she steps in with her left foot, she bends her knees, makes a lovely contact. We're not looking for power, we're only looking for technique here. Well done. And Orla, will you have a go there as well, please? Thanks, Zoe. So everyone has a habit, a good habit or a bad habit. Maybe to lengthen the hurley or shorten the hurley or go inside the body or outside the body. Super. So because Orla and Zoe have good technique, now we can look at speeding up their swing. Okay? Once they have good technique. Mary, sorry, would you just give a clap? We brought in the girls from Oliver Plunkett. Thanks a million.
And the glamorous assistant, Paddy Butler.
Mary, will you just talk about the research that you did on the hurley weight and length, please?
Yeah, a few years ago we decided that, as everybody in this room knows, size really matters, especially when it comes to hurling. And we did a survey of inter-county hurlers from Tipperary, Kilkenny, Cork, and the same in Camogie, so the Camogie players, senior inter-county players. And we found that the average height of obviously the female and the male was different. Men were about maybe an average 5.5 inches taller, but girls were using the same size hurleys as the men. So what we were trying to do through our coach education courses was educate coaches and parents about how the importance of the hurley size does really matter. And we were able to use people's names like Tommy Walsh, Gemma O'Connor from Cork, those names that people know to say, well, this is the size hurley this person uses and this is their height. And that was really, really important, and it's we're continuing that on, because if you give a child at the very beginning the wrong size hurley, you're actually instilling a hatred of the game rather than a love, because they can't utilise it, they can't use it. So it's so important that the hurley size is correct from the get-go.
Lovely. And Kenneth, we have video there. Yeah, from what I see, our Camogie players are using hurleys that are very long. And that's, the hurlers are all reducing the size of their hurley. If players could reduce the size of their hurley, that would speed up their stroke speed. And they will get their power from the speed of the swing, more so than from the weight of the hurley. This is Roisin McMahon, she's a Clare Camogie player, and we just put her on the hurling wall there last week. You can roll there, Kenneth. So you just see head, hands and feet. The swing inside the body, short grip, hurley up good and high, dexterity in her hand, feet moving to good position all the time. From 7 metres, she gets 15 strokes.
That's brilliant.
She gets 15 strokes in 22 seconds. That's around 40 to the minute. That's inter-county camogie standard. Okay? That's inter-county camogie standard. That may be development squad hurling standard at certain levels as well, under 16 or that. Okay? 40 to a minute, and some of the top inter-county players are on 55 strokes to a minute, okay, from 7 meters with a really fast ball. So we want the ball to come back really fast because that's going to increase our speed. So loads of players will do that and they'll miss the ball. We could give out to them about missing the ball and then they'll go for less power to make it easy, but we want the ball to be fast. Okay, great stuff. Avoid that. I shouldn't leave this out of my hand, should I? Reaction speed is another speed. Okay, so this is a championship match this year between Kilkenny and Clare. Top players in the country, going for the ball, eyes closed, that happens. That's normal. We could give out about them, but this is normal. Okay? Somebody's going to win that breaking ball. And some players are fantastic winning breaking ball. Breach Corkery is fantastic winning breaking ball. Bonner Maher is brilliant winning breaking ball. Paul Galvin or Brian Dooher were excellent winning breaking ball. Now, what skills did they have that helped them to win breaking ball? Anticipation skills, being able to predict what's going to happen next. Respond to the sights and sounds and signals. The 100 metres runner in the Olympics is down the starting block. He's listening to the gun. The speed of reaction for a gun is 0.1 of a second. If he goes before 0.1 of a second, he's considered to have broken the gun. 0.12 of a second is considered a really good speed. Hurlers have more senses. We can use our eyes, different senses. So the player to be able to use their full senses. To be able to respond to unplanned events like the ball hits the upright and bounces down into the square. The corner forward wants to get to that ball before the corner back and roof the ball. The corner back hopes that he or she responds to that ball first of all and gets the ball out. To be able to react to the situation as it is at the moment. Not the ball that was there 5 minutes ago or the ball that was there last week. The ball as it is at the moment. And to be able to react to the ball as opposed to a call from my coach, go now, go now, go now. We don't want our players to be waiting for the call for the coach. We want them to be able to respond to the day, to be able to react to the day when they can't hear the coach outside here in Croke Park. Okay, that's the environment as well. Being able to respond to the long grass again or the short grass, be able to react to the mud in the square or the ball getting stuck. Okay, team speed. So I watched the replay All Ireland on television, and Michael Dignan at one stage said, this is a brilliant passage of play, Ger. Whoever gets the next score is going to have a huge impact on the game. And Tipperary had a couple of chances. Seamus Callan here, he has a chance. And Jackie and JJ team up, a 2v1. Stick him onto the back foot, like Kilkenny were so good at doing for years. Stick him onto the back foot and then get the block. If one of them wasn't on the line, the two of them probably were on the line of the ball. Block it. It results with John Power getting the ball a few seconds later, putting the Kilkenny further into the lead. So team speed. Being able to get on each other's wavelength. If I want to listen to 2FM, I have to be on 91. I won't get it on 97 or 98. And if my players are on different wavelengths, they'll play against each other. They'll play in opposition to each other. They'll get in each other's way. They'll be over-eager. Jackie and JJ were never over-eager. They trust each other. To play in support of each other. To make the run at the time. To be able to make the unselfish run. To get out of the way. To pull the defender away. The timing of the pass. Lara Corbett in 2010 out here. The timing of the pass was split second. That time, just when he needed the pass, he got it. Stuck the goal. To be able to follow team tactics. To be able to seek advantages, 2v1s in defence or 2v1s in attack. Can we be a coach that helps our team create those advantages for ourselves? And cohesion. Cohesion. Kieran Joyce slots in centre back for Kilkenny in the replay this year. Minimum fuss, minimum disruption to the team. Slots in, does his job, negates one of Tipperary's best players, and plays a super role with minimum fuss. So I think Henry Shefflin is the best hurler I've ever seen. And here's a quote from Liam Fennelly when he was a minor selector. He was only just about good enough to make the team. People were saying that he was slow and pace would be a problem, but he really worked hard on that. Now what he worked hard on was his stride length. Now instead of everybody saying Henry's too slow and Henry's no good and he won't do this and he's no good and he'll never make it, some great coach says to Henry, if you increase your stride length, you'll get faster. And Henry did that, and he's one of the best ever. Mary actually has more All-Ireland medals than Henry. Some achievement. So Mary, would you talk about your experience as a player in the development of speed?
Yeah, I suppose when I was 14, I suppose, getting to know myself, and the realisation was there that I really loved the game of camogie, and I wanted to be really good at it. But I was also aware that, I wasn't the fastest. So I remember reading somewhere, and I actually can still picture it on the paper. It was from Pele. He said, I mightn't be the fastest from A to B, but I mightn't always start at A. And I was a centre back, and as a centre back I compensated for my lack of foot speed by thinking about the game an awful lot. I had a really good friend who brought me to so many matches. I watched the good players. I concentrated, I worked on my anticipation skills, my reaction skills, my reading of the game. So my mind became really, really tuned in to what I wanted to do in a game. I'm a farmer's daughter. We had about a 30-metre silage wall. And I remember day after day striking the ball off the wall, trying to improve my stroke speed, my eye speed, my hand-to-eye coordination, running up and down the silage wall, hitting the ball at an angle so I could react to where I thought the ball would go. I'd find a wall that wasn't smooth. I'd hit the ball off the wall and react to try and catch the ball. Because I knew that if I wanted to become an inter-county camogie player, I needed to work on all those things. Later on in my career, I came involved with certain coaches who were able to improve my foot speed. But definitely my awareness that I needed to work on those other ones helped me in the game of camogie.
So it was really anticipation, Mary, was your big skill.
Yeah.
Being able to figure out where I need to be, where I need to start my run from.
Yeah, I think if anybody watched games I play, reading of the game, breaking ball, as we call it, the dirty ball, that ball on the ground that, I'm trying to get to that first, and let the ball off, let the ball do the work, And
would visualisation, Mary, have made would that have been something that you'd have done as well?
Yeah, look, as you get older, you become more aware, but, you try and think about the game the night before, the week before, think about certain situations in a match, a ball dropping into a square, where would my position be, where did I think the ball might go, from a clash ball, my reaction to that. So, you thought about the game an awful lot. I was thinking to myself during the week that I played inter-county senior camogie for 16 years. And in that time, I can safely say, not one day went by that I didn't think about how I could help Cork win All-Ireland. And that was important,
Super. So this is not something to beat our players up about. This is something to help our players develop the speeds. Here's George O'Connor working with a group of teenage boys. If there's a great coach of teenage boys, it has to be George. His ability to get on with them, to build rapport with them, to have a bit of crack with them, to make them feel really good about themselves, and also instill a love of the game with them. And the great coaches, I got this model with the help of Paddy from Martin Seligman, an American psychologist. We thought it was knowledge plus skills, plus effort, plus ethics equals competencies. But it's actually knowledge multiplied by skills, multiplied by effort, multiplied by ethics is a competency. So it could be a huge number. If you mark it out of 10 out of 10 knowledge by 10 by 10 by 10 could be 10,000. The greatest coach ever could be 10,000. And 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 could be 1. Or 10 by 10 by 0 by 10 will be 0 if I have 0 effort. So I don't need loads of knowledge on its own, but I'd like to have knowledge of what? Knowledge of my coaching models. What to do. My 3 T's and my 3 P's, my 6 speeds of hurling. Knowledge of that. Coupled with my coaching skills, my ability to build rapport, to explain, to observe, to analyse, to generate and provide feedback and to provide demonstrations. Effort, my ability to plan a season, to plan a session, to reflect how I am when I'm there. My interest, am I going to be there? Am I reliable? My ethics, why am I there? I think the greatest barrier to the player's development is the coach's ego. If we could leave our egos at the door and say we're here for the good of the children, we're here for the good of the youths, we're here to help them develop, we're willing to accept our mistakes. We don't want it perfect. We want it a mishmash, as the lad said. It's not linear. The lads, Brian and Mike and John kept saying about how development is not linear. We don't want it to be perfect. Player competencies, again, knowledge of the game, skills, effort. If they're 10 and 10 and 10 and 10, or 10 and 10 and 10, and the player gets a red card in the first minute of the game because he has no ethics, that's zero playing competencies. So for some of our really skillful players may struggle in player competencies, and this is something this is a model for coaches and for players. So here's John Conlon, the Clare hurler. We were running a camp last year in Whitegate in County Clare, and we asked John to come out and show us how he goes fast. So I said, John, put out the ropes there, 6 balls. John, would you mind running your fastest and trying to hit ball 6? So John says, I will. So he ran his fastest and he missed ball 6. And I'm so delighted. So delighted. I said, John, thanks a million. You've done me the greatest favour ever. I said, lads, you see where we're at now? If we're on technique, if we're on speed, technique will break down. If I'm focused on you must hit the last ball, you have to slow down and make sure of it. We're trying to get to a new level of speed here. So to be fast, you've got to train fast. And when training for speed, technique will break down. And I love this boy here. He's so excited. He wants to go. Give me a go at that running fast. Sorry. You okay there, Kenneth? Can you do it? And this boy beside him in the Tulla jersey. We better mention Tulla when we're here. Okay. So I don't know if anyone saw Schminky shorts. The turtles think that Tommy Stone made for speed. He's the fastest turtle going. And they're saying, slow down, Tommy, or you'll kill yourself. And we know Tommy's not going fast. We know he's not fast because we're not turtles, but they think he's fast. And sometimes you go to clubs and say, oh, jeez, we're flying, we're going really fast, we're very fast. We're flying, we're getting our speed up. And you know they're doing anything except fast. It's anything but. It's slow and it's laboured and it's like hurling was played 100 years ago. Because they're roaring harder, 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 hit the ball harder. Nobody says to Roger Federer, hit the ball harder, Roger. Or Lewis Hamilton, drive harder. Or Usain Bolt, run harder. Or battle. I've said all these things myself now, so. Battle is okay the day you're an underdog and you have to win, you're trying to win the game. But battling every day is not good. It's fight or flight mentality. It's not good. It's not good because the enjoyment and the beauty and the art and the aesthetic of hurling gets taken away if we think hurling is a battle or hurling is a war. Hurling is a puzzle and hurling is a joy and hurling is magic. And that's the way we want to see hurling being played and camogie being played. How many camogie games do you go to under 14 matches and all you hear people roaring, pull, 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 pull. And the girls are so well able to rise the ball, but they want to please their coach, so they pull. And they come into a county squad and they pull on the ball and Kate Kelly gets it and she sticks it over the bar. And you say, oh God, we better take her off because she's going to cost us scores. Don't make mistakes. A few years ago, loads of people were saying give 110%. I think it's gone up to 185% now some places. There's no such number. There's no such number. There's 100% and that's your absolute maximum. So don't be confusing people by saying give 185%. If a teenage boy or girl gave you 70% or 75%, you might be delighted. Empty out. Doesn't sound like speed to me. Or die with your boots on, die for the jersey. Okay, for the 14-year-old, every day we'll die again today, lads, we'll die again today, we'll die for the jersey. Drive it down the field, don't mind that short passing. Out here, hurling is paid 30-yard passes. Or go yourself, don't mind your teammates. Go yourself. It's not modern hurling. Okay, so teenagers, we mightn't see a whole lot in them. I had a 6-year-old to 16, I coached him in my own club at home. And, oh God, some days I'd say, I think I called him slow a few days. And I might have said under my breath he was stupid. As a teenager, he didn't show a whole lot. And he kept rising the ball like this, watch. And I was saying, will you rise the ball properly? And he kept doing that. And he would defy me. He won't rise the ball properly. He rises it like this. And he perfected the technique of rising. That he got 10 out of 10 in every match. He'd rise the ball into his hand straight away. He didn't foul the ball. And he got 625 points in his Leaving Cert last year. And he's a maths genius. But I didn't see that genius in him. I think most teenagers have a genius in them. And only very few people get it out of them, of themselves. Thank God he didn't listen to me. So how do we help our teenagers? Build competencies. Tell them, teach them, make them aware of what they're fast at and what they need to work on. Share the knowledge about the speeds, your stories about Henry, and your stories about Mary, and your stories about DJ, and your stories about Tony Kelly. Accept their failures. We don't want it perfect. Teenagers are hardwired for failure. They're hardwired. We want failure. Failure should be good. If there isn't failure, your training sessions aren't fast enough. Reward their effort, more so than praising their talent. Value opinions. Oh God, if teenagers could only be valued. I think we've made great strides with our children. But teenagers get to a certain height and we think because they're tall enough now we can abuse them. You're big enough now to know it. Listen to them, observe them, and be able to come back to them with good feedback based on what you're seeing. Understand their plight. Understand that they don't know exactly what they want, but they're coming to your team and maybe this is the 2 hours of the week that they love. Coming to your team, they get away from studying, they get away from pressure, and you could be their greatest friend. And if you are, they'll pay you back tenfold. And empathize with the fact that this is the fastest game in the world. And our players are trying to play the fastest game in the world, and our development squad players are trying to play the fastest game in the world at the highest possible level. So it's going to be full of failure. Most of all, teenagers need to belong. They need to feel that it's okay, you're here, you're grand, we want you, you're fine just as you are. We don't need you any different, you're grand as you are. You're worthy of love and belonging, and it's hard to use words like love in teenagers. We love the game, but very few people love teenagers. We love children and we love babies, we love little babies, they're lovely, but sometimes we don't love teenagers because they don't look. Okay? But they need our love, and they need to feel a sense of belonging. 2 nice little things to finish up with. John Lennon, a genius. When I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment, and I told them that they didn't understand life. They didn't see his genius. Nobody saw his genius, and you may not see the genius at the moment. That's one for you. You've come from all over the country this morning. From the 10 coaches Marco van Basten had when I was a youth player, 1 made me a better player. 3 didn't do me any harm. And if I listened to the other 6, I would never have become a professional footballer. So you've come now from Donegal, and you've come from Galway, and you've come from Cork, and you've come from Kildare, and you've come from Chicago, and you've come from Antrim, to be here today, to become the 1, or at the very worst, to become the 4. You don't want to be in the 6. Okay? Thank you very much.